Okay, so today we have exercise 8. We will draw furniture objects in two views. So the same piece in two different views, using two-point perspective on the same sheet. So the two views on the same sheet. We will use division of unit method, the splitting of surfaces, and we will have circles or parts of circles included in this object. So until now, we draw with straight lines. Now we can include parts of circles or circles in the objects. So we will use two-point perspective. And as I said, we will draw furniture. Now, why do we need to draw, let's say, a design in two different views on the same paper? That's because if you are the designer of this object, you want to show the details of this object in two views, okay? Like if you are using, you can use one-point perspective, two-point perspective, it doesn't really matter. But two-point perspective gives a more beautiful appearance to the object and makes it more clear. So, two views are used to draw the same object. So, if the first view is this, the second view will be rotated from another angle and show what happens, for example, from a little bit from the back. Because some pieces have interesting features from all directions. So, in your sketch or in your drawing, you want to show two different views. That's the point with it, okay? Now, we will draw this very simple furniture piece and use some of the methods that we explained before. Now this, we can draw it in several ways. If I want to draw it really fast, like a very, very, very fast sketch, I will not use any method. I will just use, very fast in perspective and estimate all the areas just to understand the object. But if I want a little bit more accuracy, we will draw it a little bit more careful, okay, using the methods. Now, I can start this part, I can start drawing it by drawing first the big cuboid or cube, because we always start this way. And to find this surface, I could, for example, this edge divide into three. How did we use it before? So we have, for example, here a surface. So I want to divide this into three. Now, as I said, if I draw very fast, I can estimate where it is, just, very quickly. But if I want a bit more accuracy, from here to here, we will divide into three parts, three equal parts. Then take this line and this line. And from here, I can take another line. So here and here is the division. So this is the first, this is the second, okay? And then after that, I can basically continue, okay? So now I know where is located this object here, and then I can continue the other details. That's one way to start. Another way, there is many methods how you can start a drawing. Another way is to start with this unit here. This is also a cuboid. And then I will use the division of the unit method to find the other. So let's start with this now. And see how this will work. Shorten this a little bit. So, I will start with this unit. And then I will divide it using the division of the unit method, which is how the first edge, half of it, okay, half, and we take to the vanishing point, a line, the vanishing point. And after that, what did we do? We need to have these other two lines as well, of course. And this line we need. Now, we go from this point through this point. This is the location of the second one. Then, from this point through this point, the location of the third unit. So, whatever you start with here, unit, you can, as we know, subdivide it and find the location of the other. Now, we might not need these lines, so I will not continue them. Now here, let me draw this line. Now, we need to, okay, this is here the first unit, which is this unit here, which actually does not exist in my drawing, but I draw it because I need to find this unit and this unit, which is of the same size like this unit. There is also a second one and a third one that I want to draw of the same size, so we need to divide here as well. So, from the same line, we will take, so half point to the vanishing point, and we do the same thing. From this point through this point, this is the next unit of the same size. And again, from this point through this point. And this is the third unit of this size. Okay, so we have from here 3 units, from here 3 units. Okay, so we divided this one 3 times here, 3 times here. Okay, so this is here the end of the object. We go to the vanishing point. This one goes to the vanishing point. Okay. Okay, now in this unit here, the last one, we have this object which is, let's say for example, half of this unit. So this is the last unit here, half of it or quarter of it. So how can we find the location of this object here in a reasonable way to look proportionally correct? So we can take this unit and divide in half using the diagonal method. So find the center point from here and from here. So here is the center point of this unit. Okay, if I want the center point, I take it up. If I don't want it, I draw a line and I divide again, so I will have a quarter, okay, of it. And smaller, depends on what you need, okay? So let's say I'm happy now with half, so I will take this up. And to the vanishing point. Now this line here will become hidden at the back, so we will do it dashed if we want to leave it. Okay. Now, the height of this object. We don't have measurements here, okay? Now, if I give you measurements, then you have to go from the first edge and measure from here, okay? If I give you measurements. But for now, we are not using measurements, so it's just proportion. One thing compared to another thing. So, if I want, for example, this object to be half of this object, okay? I will measure according to its line. So this line here with this line. If I want this line the half, we already know because of this line. So I can measure, for example, this, I can place it here, okay, at this point, then take it to the vanishing point, and take to the other vanishing points. So it's an estimation, but a more accurate estimation, I would say. So you use objects to compare one thing to another. And from this point to the other vanishing point. Okay. So, okay, now what? What do we have else here? Okay, so this is here the first unit, the second unit, the third unit. Okay, now we have here. Okay, let's do this first here at the front. So this is here the object that we want. This is here just construction lines. So we will delete them like this. You don't delete your construction lines on the paper, remember? You make them very light, okay? So now from here to here and from here to here, I will connect this point with this point and this point with this point. Okay? So this is the object we want. This here, no. This here, no. This is here the object we want. Where is this divide? It's in the middle. It's already clear from this line. Okay. Now, let's continue with this here. So this one will also have a corner here through the middle, go down. And this here we need from here to here. And we have to connect, we have to connect from this corner through this corner also. And this will be, these two lines, of course, you don't worry about them as long when you find the other locations of the other objects, you just connect the points of the lines and you don't worry about them because they are not parallel to the other two, okay? These go to the vanishing point and these lines here go to the vanishing point. But how these connect, you need to find first these that go to the vanishing points and then connect. Okay, great. Now, we have this object here and we have here semicircles. So like a radius, it could be a quarter of a circle, a half circle, okay? It depends on what you're drawing. So these now, again, if I was drawing a fast drawing, I just can estimate here and just draw very fast. If I want a little bit more accuracy, I will divide the surface. So it depends how much I want this to be compared to this surface, okay? So I can divide in quarters, in more if I want to. So let us divide the surface and see. So, first you will find the center point, as usual. Then we can again divide. This one, of course, also. Now, if I want to use these, so this is quarter now. If I want to use them, I can use them. If I see, okay, it's a little bit too big, maybe we need to divide again, then we will divide again. Okay, maybe this is more useful. And here we will divide. So this is what I need from here to here and from here to here. Great. Now, where does this end here? Again, it's estimation. If I want from here to here, this object, I can divide it in half, or I can divide it into 3. So it depends, or into 4 parts. So from here to here, depends on what you are drawing really. So if I divide this line here into half, okay? And I see, okay, it's too big. Maybe I can divide from here to here again into half until I'm happy with the solution, okay? Or divide into thirds. So instead of dividing halves, so this here into 3 equal parts. So from here, 1, 2, 3, okay? And then I can take this to the vanishing point. And, okay. From here to the vanishing point. Now, this is what we need. This point and this point, okay? So this is here the square. Remember, how do we draw circles? We need a square. So here is our square, for example. Now it doesn't, again, it depends on what you are drawing, but if I'm drawing, for example, a quarter of a circle, I need a square here, okay? So this is here part of a bigger square. And now I can connect these 2 points, okay, together. Now from this point, also to the vanishing point, okay, and the back point here connect with this. Okay. Now, from this side we have the same thing. Where is the square that we want? This one. So from this point connect to this point, and from here to the vanishing point, this line, then this point connect with the one at the back. Now here you will not see it because it's from the perspective. You will not see. Sometimes you will see part of it. It depends where you are drawing this object again. Okay? So here you will see just the front line. Okay. So then whatever other details you have, this object here inside. So we start with what? With the cube, the cuboid, or we start with one unit, we divide it, or the cuboid, we find the center points and so on, and find, so more and more the details, the small details will be added later, okay? So if you have other details here, again, you can estimate where is the location going to be. Is it going to be aligned with this, for example, and this? So is it aligned? Is it smaller? Again, this surface you can divide as you like to find the location, and you draw it. Sometimes by the division you can already find some points. So this should go to the vanishing point. Now, objects like these, again, it depends on their shape, on their size. If I want to draw circular, for example, anything circular, I have to first, this should go to the vanishing point, of course. Then we will have these 2 lines that should go to the vanishing point, depending on the length, of course, that I choose. We need the squares. Then, according to the rule, you will draw the circle so that we know how it's tilted. Is it tilted this way? Is it tilted that way? Is it standing like this? So you cannot know that until you draw it accurately. So you draw the cuboid here and you draw it here, after finding the center point, of course, if it's in the center, okay? If it's in the center, you will do this in the center. Depending on the size, this is still a sketch, so you're estimating. But the methods that we learned already help you to draw a reasonably accurate sketch. It is still for sketching. Anything that doesn't have measurements is a sketch. Okay? But sketches can be very quick, like this one freehand drawn totally. And this is a sketch drawn a little bit more accurate, finding the locations, the proportions look more accurate than the first one. This is the difference. Okay. Now, let me delete some of these lines just so that you can see better, but on your paper, you will delete nothing. Okay, delete all the lines. So these are all construction here lines and so on. So, now, for example, because this is still a sketch, if I say, okay, I don't like what I have here. Let's see here, this. Let me just draw it here. So you might need it, actually, the cuboid. Okay. So let's say, for example, I don't like what I have here. I want this instead to be divided in a different way. This is how the development of a sketch can happen. So, if I don't like this the way it is here, okay, I can, for example, divide this surface into 3 parts, 3 equal parts, and then take to the vanishing point, make it like this. Okay, I don't like this. Okay, I can do something else with it. For example, I don't like these 2 straight lines. I want all of this to be a circle. How do we do that? Well, from here I can find the center point of this surface, for example. That's the center point. Here, okay? Here is the center point of this surface, okay? Of this surface. So now, okay, I say I want it to be a circle. So instead, from here to the center point, because this is part of the 4 points that we usually find on a circle. If you still cannot imagine it, you can draw the entire surface and then connect. So this is one of the 4 points. So we can connect and connect it to the other side. So we don't want the straight lines. Okay, we have the circle now. Okay. And we do here the same. So from this to this, from this to the center here, this point. And going to the point at the back, when you connect these 2, you should end up with something like this. So all of this gets deleted here. Now, when it's drawn a little bit more carefully, it will look a little better. So, I wanted, for example, a circle. So we developed it into a circle. If we need these center points that we found before, for example, these points, of course you need the construction lines, don't delete, because maybe now I will decide, okay, I want to divide this in half. Now I can do it from here, from this object, because we don't have measurements. We just use the estimating. So from this line to this line, half point is here. So I can, for example, use this to divide this into half, for example. But we need to be careful with hand drawings that where this object rotates, it rotates in a correct way, not to be too straight or too, in a wrong way. If I want, okay, I have this surface here still. This surface, which is the part of the cuboid. So I know the center point, I already found it from here. So from here to the vanishing point, this is here the center. If I want to divide, I can divide now, okay? If I want here, this line, I already know where it's located. So from here to the, okay, we can divide, for example. And so on, to the vanishing point.
Nice.
And then you can again divide, okay, from here, of course, and so on. No, I'm doing this thing to show you how a sketch can develop. So you start with something, a sketch of your idea. Like you start with something, you draw something, then, okay, I don't like this, you change it, okay, you change something else. If you don't like it, you start all over again, and so on. But it has a method of starting. You need to start with some kind of a cube, cuboid, then divide, or with some kind of an element, okay, that you divide, so that you have an idea of the other objects. Okay, now if I start with this here element and I divide it, I know that at least I'm drawing it correctly in perspective. Like these become a bit smaller, then this smaller. If you draw everything freehand, totally, it's okay to visualize it, but it won't be correct proportions. So you need some order in the drawing to find the details a little bit more accurately, okay? Later when we have measurements, then it will be 100% correct, you know? But this is a very good method for sketching. So this is it, basically the idea. Now, this is one view, okay? So I changed it a lot here, but let's stick with this drawing. So this is one view, but we need to draw it from another perspective view also. So, again, we start with the first edge. So to see the details from another view. So I will start with what? Okay. Take it to the vanishing point. So I will start again with drawing this unit. Okay. Who is talking? Who is talking? So we will start with this unit again, but now this part here is going to be from the back. Okay? So now again we do the same thing. This unit I need to divide into 3 here and into 3 here. So 3 and 3. Okay, the same thing we did before. Where is the pen? Oh. Okay. So the center point, where is it? Okay, find it. And take to the vanishing point. Now, from here through here, where it touches, this is the next one. And again, this is the third one. Now, from here, we need to divide also into 3. So, from this point through this point, and from this point to this point again. Okay, great. So now the end points we will take to the vanishing point. So, now this object here will be located here. Okay? So we have this unit. What did we do here in the beginning? We divided this unit into half, of course. As I said, if you needed to divide more, you divide depending on what you are doing. So this is the half. So this point here is the half point of this surface, the center point. So I take it up from here to the vanishing point. This is what I want. From here up, and from here up, of course, and from this point that we found, also up. Now, here we chose this to be half of this. Okay? So from here we can also measure. So this is here half. We will place half. So at this point, take to the vanishing point. point again to the vanishing points. And from here to this vanishing point. So, this is the object that we want. Now, again, we have, so this here part, which is the cuboid, we have this line and this line and this line to find, okay? So we already know the location of the mid one, okay? So from here, from this point and this point to the vanishing point, we take now here, this line will be hidden behind this. This line will be hidden, only this part will be seen. So, from this corner here to this corner, and then here we have a lot of lines, so we cannot see where, but from this corner down straight, and we have the same thing happening here. Okay? So it's not very clear, but from this point through here, we should have another line like this, which should be actually parallel to this line. Okay? Now, so we need this part and this part. All of these other things are construction lines, okay, that we just use to construct the object. Okay? So this piece and this line and this line. So it depends on the perspective point. Now, if I draw this a little bit more twisted that way, then we can see more of this. It will not look that strange, you know, like it's hidden. And from here to here, the same thing will happen. Sorry. From this point to this point. Okay. So, but the problem is that this line here, all of it is hidden from the back. Okay. So all of this will be hidden stuff, so we don't see it. Okay. Now let us see this circle here and this quarter of a circle. How did we do? We divided the surfaces. So we will do the same thing here. We divide this surface. So this is here the center, okay? We need to divide again. So we divide it here another time. So this surface another time. This is what we need here. Now here the same thing. And again we divide this surface. And this is what we need. Then what did I do here? I chose a third of this line, a third. So this line here, for example, divide it into 3 equal parts. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And take the point to the vanishing point to see where it will intersect here, where it will intersect here. This is the square I want. This is the square I want. The rest, we can just connect this point with this point, this point with this point, okay? And from this point to the vanishing point, to know this point and this point. Now we know, and we connect also. So there will be a line here, from here also to the vanishing point, and if you can see the other surface, you draw it. If you don't see it, you don't draw it. So, the idea with this is to draw an object from one perspective view and then rotate it from another perspective view. Now again, where you place it, it will look different. If you place it a bit up, a bit that way, a bit down, so the perspective view will change, and that's okay, as long as you show 2 perspective views. Now, if you want to be a little bit more accurate, the line, the first edge that you draw here, the first edge of this object, for example, this here, if you want to draw them the same size, you can draw the first edge of a specific measurement. It doesn't matter what it is, but take the same one and start with this edge in the same measurement, okay? So the object will look the same size. Sometimes in design, they draw one view big and the other view small. That's also correct. But as long as the proportions are correct, the proportions. So if I want this, half of this, to look half at least, okay, in the perspective. The proportions have to be correct, whether I draw this big and this small. So why sometimes they draw one view big and the other view small? Because to focus our attention on one view, like this is the most important, where I put all the details. This is secondary, like just to see, okay, what do we have at the back a little bit and from a different view. So there is sometimes a main view and a secondary view. The most important, the second in importance. This can be smaller than this or the same size. So this is basically the idea. Now, what you need to do for your homework is what? Draw furniture piece from your mind, okay? Anything that, you can look at something, of course, and try to draw it, but not copying drawings. So you cannot look at a picture and try to draw it, because you cannot know this object. Okay, what if I draw it in the second view? How to rotate it? You need to start methodically with a certain method. That means start with a cube, start with a cuboid, divide. So I need to see how did you end up with whatever you end up here, okay? And then you take it the same way you did here. You draw it a second time, but rotate it. So be careful with what you choose. Of course, the first drawing can be just a quick sketch for you to understand what you want to do, and then you transfer it in a correct methodical way, by dividing, by multiplying, and so on, okay? You need to do two sheets. On each sheet, I need to see one object in two views, okay? So you will have 4 drawings. Is that clear? So we have 2 sheets. One object here, one object here, in 2 views. So we have 2 different views. And this is one object, whatever here it's going to be. And this is another object. So 4 drawings. This must be of the same object, and this of another object in 2 views. Okay? All the construction lines, these many lines that I draw to construct something, must be on the paper. If it's not on the paper, it's copied for me. And I will not put it a mark, okay? So please, the method that we learned, very light lines for the construction, so that when it gets overcrowded with lines, it doesn't, so you can still draw the dark lines for the object that you want to keep, okay? To stand out. So, light lines, heavy lines, all of these things, dotted lines, if you have something hidden from the back, you must apply this. And everything must be on the paper. Any questions? Okay. So, we are done for today. Let me close this.